What up, everyone? So, we've got DC Legion of Collectors here, the classic DC version of the box. But, before I get to reviewing this box, there's something else I want to talk about this company. Things that need to be known. So, a lot of you know this, some of you may not, because I haven't talked about it in a long time. My rating system, how I do it, it's called the 3V system. And it's value, variety, and virtue. The first two V's are obvious, value, variety. The third one, virtue, is basically the company, how well they handle things, their customer service, how well they do things as a company. And it doesn't seem like that's that important, but me personally, just doing this for so long, I've had to deal with my fair share of shitty companies. And it is so stressful and such a hassle to deal with people that don't know how to handle their business. And it's a real pain in the ass. And you wouldn't think that's a big deal, but when it becomes a problem where you can't get your items or you can't get something from a company and you're constantly having to hassle them, it becomes a big deal. And that makes the box not worth it a lot of times. Because there's so many options out there. There's no one box that like I just can't live without. And if I have to keep contacting customer service and waiting for them to reply, it's a huge pain in the ass and I'd rather not deal with it. So it's pretty rare with most of the boxes I get nowadays because I've like kind of weeded through a lot of those crappy ones. But yeah, sometimes there's customer service things that come up, and there's one-on-one to talk about. So we'll get to that first. So I'm going to go on an angry rant for a little bit, and then we'll get to the box. So, what happened was that they had a Black Friday sale. A lot of the boxes companies did this, Funko specifically, and it was essentially half off all previous boxes. You got all their past boxes that they have overstock of, you got them half off for Black Friday. And they carried on that deal for a while. So I thought that was pretty cool. There wasn't a lot of them I wanted to go back and get, but there was one specifically I wanted, and that was the Batman Superman one. That one and the Avengers one were like two of the coolest ones because they had an exclusive pop figure that wasn't just an alternate paint job, it was a completely different sculpt of a really cool character. Both of them happened to be armored characters, and it was Hulkbuster, and then it was the armored Batman. And those were figures you couldn't get anywhere else. They weren't just paint jobs, it was a completely different sculpt, and it was the only sculpt of that character from that series that you could get, so it was really cool. So I went back and got that box because sometimes I like to have two figures I really like, one to take out of the box and one to keep in the box for collecting. And I got the first one, I took it out of the box, so with it being half off, I'm like, well, fuck it, like that's not expensive at all, it's pretty cheap. And that's to get that whole box at that price is cheaper than just buying the pop online. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll get that. And I already took mine out of the box, so I'll keep this one in the box. So I thought it was a good idea. And then it showed up, and it was a lot of the stuff in there was pretty damaged. And normally it's not a big deal. I realize shipping is a problem, but it was a little more than a little bit. So I looked into it, and most companies are good at just about replacing your stuff. I know a lot of people have told me they've dealt with companies, and they're good if you get something damaged or missing, they'll just send out another one. Funko, not so much. So I looked into what the process is to getting things replaced, and they explicitly said right away that they don't replace things that were damaged in shipping, which I think is kind of weird, but I guess I get it because it's not technically their fault, but I feel like they should take some responsibility to it. But I'll show you what happened to my figure. So here's the box right here. Wait for it to focus. And here's the flap. So it's not that bad right now because I've kind of bent it back, but this whole flap was completely folded in and had a hard crease on it and then shoved back in to the point where it wasn't closing all the way because obviously there was a crease in there. So it came half open like that and there was a big crease in there, so whenever someone was putting it in, it showed up like this with that big crease right there. And not to mention that there was damage for shipping and things like that. So I know they don't replace shipping stuff, but this was not a shipping problem. This is a packaging problem. Whatever process they were using to package, they were either doing it by hand or the automation was doing it too quick, and when they went to tuck it in, a corner caught and they just shoved it down and then that folded in. So to me, that's damaging the box, and that actually hurts the value a lot. It's not that big of a deal, but when you're getting one specifically to keep in the box, to collect for value's sake, then that is kind of a huge deal because that's a pretty significant fold there, and there was other dents and dings on there. So I contacted them in a long email, and I said, I know you guys don't replace shipping problems, but this wasn't a shipping problem. And I explained clearly, like, there's no way that could have happened during shipping. If it's in the box and it's closed, there's no way it would have unpackaged itself and then repackaged itself and folded that little corner over. It's not possible. That's something that happened in the factory at Funko, so you guys are responsible for that. And then they came back with an email saying, well, not only do they not cover shipping damage, they don't cover any damaged box at all. So not this box, not any boxes there. If there's any damage to them, they do not cover it and they do not replace it, which I think is really shitty. And their explanation for that was total bullshit, but they gave one anyway. I didn't ask for one, but they said because they want the figures to come out of the box and to be enjoyed that way. They want people to get a whole 360 view of the figure, and that's why they don't cover box damage, which is total bullshit. Like, that's such a stupid excuse, because if that were the case, then why even put it in the box in the first place? Why not just give us figures if that's your true intention? What's the point of even having the box? What's the point of putting all this nice box artwork on there and all this decoration all the way around it? They wouldn't put that much work into it if that was their true intention. That's just a cop-out bullshit excuse because they didn't want to cover it. So I kind of got screwed there. And I figured out that's probably what they're doing. The things that they're selling for half price, it's probably all damaged goods. It's things that they couldn't ship to the regular people that for odd reasons due to damage. So they ship them half price and hope people won't complain about it. But it sucks that they do that. And first of all, they should take responsibility for shipping damage. I realize it's not their fault, but at the end of the day, they pick the shipping company. And if they're having problems with that company, they should switch to a different shipping method. It is their responsibility. Also, I know it's not their fault that it's damaged during shipping, but it should be their responsibility to file a claim. Anyone that's bought or sold anything on eBay knows if something is damaged, you file a claim with the post office. Often there's insurance, but if there's not, you file a claim just so they know that they need to be careful with their shit. Funko should be taking responsibility for that and filing those claims. That is their responsibility. If they don't want to replace it, technically they don't have to. They don't have any legal obligation, but they should be taking responsibility and filing those claims at the very least, which they are not. Secondly, if something is damaged before shipping, it absolutely is their responsibility. It's their fucking company. It's Funko. Funko's giving me this box. It's their company. It's packaged in-house. They do it. Why would they not take responsibility for it? And if they don't take responsibility for damaged boxes, what do they take responsibility for? Like, what could there be what they would take responsibility for? It's not like it would get so damaged where the figure would get broken. Like, it would be kind of hard to damage this box and the figure. You'd have to, like, run over it with a car. But it's so dumb that they don't do that. So I thought that was personally very shitty, and I'm never going to be ordering past boxes again. I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep these ones. If things show up damaged in the regular box, I'm definitely canceling. So far, that has not happened. So that's why I'm assuming it's only with these past boxes, because they give out the good products and the damaged ones they sell back at half price. So that's good to know, because I won't be doing that again, because there's no point. I don't want it if it's damaged, even if it is half price. Because if I were to sell this, I wouldn't even get half the price. And that really sucks that that happened. And it ended up just being a waste of money. So anyway, at the end of the day, I just thought people should know, be aware of that when you're getting past boxes from anything Funko. And also be aware that they're not going to replace anything even if the box is damaged. So hopefully nothing in here is damaged, and hopefully nothing in the future will be. I'm going to let bygones be bygones here. I only paid half price, so it's not that big of a deal. But if anything in my regular boxes shows up damaged, then I'm heavily going to consider canceling those boxes, because that's bullshit. They need to take responsibility, and there's no excuse for that. In my personal opinion, that's just poor business operation. That's poor quality of that business to not take responsibility and not take pride in their own product, to just kind of dismiss it and sweep it under the rug. I think that's bad business, and I don't stand for that, and I don't like that whatsoever. So that being said, let's review this fucker and hope nothing's damaged in here. If it is, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna come at you with this shit. I'll find you, Funko. I'll cut you. Alright, let's open this up. So from what I know, this is the classic, I forget what it was called, classic DC something classic. So I'm guessing it's just classic characters. And I'm pretty sure they used this logo before, the Batman one, but let's see. So we got our classic patch and pin combo, and we got Green Arrow and Swamp Thing. There we go. Yep, definitely look like the old, like, 50s style. That works for me. Alright, information card. So right off the bat, so on top, let's see, got our shirt. And it looks like I got Ace, Batman's doggy. Open this up and take a look. Boom. Alrighty. So it's a ringer. Nice. Got the little rings there. Got Ace. Little bat dog. That's pretty cool. I guess that's classic. You know, I don't remember when they introduced the dogs. I know it was a long time ago, but I don't know if I'd consider that classic or not. I don't remember when they introduced them. But you know, whatever. I like that they do the little ringer style. I think that looks very nice. So that's a cool little shirt. Yeah, I kind of like that. I don't think I've ever seen Ace on a shirt before, to be quite honest. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm not much more else to say about it. I think that deserved like at least a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's a good shirt, and I think most people will like it. And their quality is pretty decent. Most of their Funko shirts are decent in quality. They're not crap. They have their own shirt company they go through, so it's not like the Gildan crappy ones. So these are actually decent quality, so it's not too bad. Alright, that works for me. Next, as always, we get our comic, and it looks like we've got the Adventures of Aquaman, number 452. Wow, that's really high up there. It's a very high issue. I had no idea that issue even went that high. Definitely way up there. And as always, again, they went with the pop style of cover, but this one's actually not too bad. Adam Archer cover. It looks pretty good, actually. I kind of like that. But they tend to go a little pop heavy on these boxes, but the shirt wasn't, so at least there's one thing that wasn't. And yeah, looks like the rest is pop figures. Alright, so here we got Plastic Man. I guess he would be classic too. And we don't see too much Plastic Man. I know he's in one of the more recent animated Batman series, but he's making a little bit of a comeback. But that's cool. I like that they did a different body style. Keeps him a little bit interesting. That's very nice. Plastic Man. And it looks like we just got one more item. And it looks like a Batman Robin Salt and Pepper Shaker in the pop form. So, you know, oddly enough, salt and pepper shakers are very common in subscription boxes, in these monthly subscription boxes. We've gotten a lot of them. Why? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure who decided that that was a common thing. Just like mugs, they just show up all the time. But I don't mind them. You honestly only need like one pair of salt and pepper shakers, unless you collect them. But the cool thing about them is if you don't use them for that, they're still good as just figures. You can just set them up on their own, and they don't need to be used as salt and pepper shakers. So that's the good news about them. So I guess that's one of the things that's about them that's good to have around. So even if you don't like them, and it came in this nice window display box, so that's kind of nice too. Classic Batman and Robin. So I guess that was all the stuff. Am I missing anything? No, so not a lot of items in here, just 4. I guess 6 if you include the patch and pin. But yeah, this is pretty much what we always expect. It's a shirt, a comic, and a lot of times it's 2 pop figures or a pop and a Dorbs. It's usually a pop and one other item. This time it's salt and pepper. So there we go. So that was pretty simple. So we'll take a short little break, and then we'll come back, talk about some value, and give this box a final rating. See you soon. All right, we are back. So, something I probably should have mentioned in the first half, this is January's box. We're at that time of the month where it gets super awkward because January's boxes have started arriving, as they should. We are well into January, but December's boxes have not finished arriving either. And I kind of hate that that happens because some boxes come from Asia and Europe, so it takes a while to get here, and I get it. And then the other one's just nerd block. They just take fucking forever, so their boxes don't come till halfway through the following month, which is very annoying. So it goes back and forth here, and that's why I don't put the month in the description, because it's always so confusing, because the month it arrives isn't the month it's supposed to be in. So I always put it in the description. I just put the theme in the actual title to try and make it a little less confusing. So I just decided I'm not going to wait for my monthly review to do the next month. If boxes come, I'm just going to review them whenever they show up. And then when the monthly review comes, I'll separate them again into those specific months because it gets too confusing otherwise. So this is the time of month where there's a bunch of boxes because early boxes and late boxes are all showing up at once. So we got lots to do. Anyway, let's talk about some value on this box. First of all, the shirt, standard 12 to 15, as all shirts do, 7.5 out of 10. I think it's really cool. You had the option of one of 2 shirts, which I liked. You could have gotten Ace or Crypto, so Superman's dog or Batman's dog. So you had the option of either one, which I think is pretty cool that there was 2 options there. I like it when they give some variety. Other than that, not much variety. So the comic, only $5 or $6. The comics are never worth anything, and that's the same. The Marvel and the DC ones always come with a comic, and they're never worth anything. They're always very cheap, barely what you would pay for a normal comic. So 5 or 6 on that, no big surprise. Most of the value in these boxes will come from the one pop figure that it comes with, and Plastic Man's pretty cool. I like it. He looks interesting. I like the design of him, but he's not like a crazy popular character. I think he's well known enough because he, like I said, he's made somewhat of a resurgence lately, but even still, he's not a super popular character. But this is going for like 22 to 25, around that. And these Funko boxes are always the toughest to value because the values drop like crazy. I waited a few days for this, but price will probably come down on that a few more dollars over the next couple days or a week or so. But right now it's at like 22 to 25. Next, our little salt and pepper shaker. And this is only going for about 10 to 12. And this is pretty common with any of these home products, like the mugs that are like soup bowls, the salt and pepper shakers. All those that are the pop home pretty much are all the same price, and that's like 10 to 12. That's pretty common there too. And that's why I keep saying it's like so expected what we're going to get as far as items and value. And then the last is the patch and pin. I always group those together because they just kind of go together. And that, again, same price is $6 to $7, and that's pretty common as well. There's always that like 5 to 7 range that it's always those pins, unless it's like a crazy popular character, but even still, always right around that price for the pair of those. So pretty common on the price and on the value and everything like that. So that brings our value on the low end of 53 and on the high end of 65. So not quite double, but pretty close to it. So almost there, not quite there though. But decent value, and overall in the box, you know, not that impressive. There's a lot of classic Batman stuff, and they definitely picked classic characters, but I don't really get too much of a classic feel from it. Because, you know, like I said, when I think classic DC or classic Batman, I really don't think of, like, Ace. Me personally. I'm sure he's been around a very long time, and he's considered classic, but that's not really what I think of. And I think they could have done a little better. Like, these salt and pepper shakers look like the classic figures, but honestly, Batman, there's so many variations of him, and they still use this design to this day, so. And then Plastic Man, he kind of still looks the same too, so there just wasn't that much of a difference. I didn't really get that classic feel, so I don't think they executed it that well. And the comic is just the comic, and then same thing, like Aquaman looks the same as he does today. Like they don't really reinvent the heroes that much. In the movies they do. The movie versions of these characters always look very different. But as far as comic books, they don't change that much when it comes to DC. I feel like DC always feels classic. Anytime I see those characters, I think those are classic. Marvel's modern and DC is classic. That's always to me what I've thought of. So them making a classic box, it's just like, it just seems like normal characters. It doesn't really seem classic at all. And I don't think it's really overwhelming. The prices are pretty common because I don't think any of these things would be really sought after. And it's all good stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. And they're designed decently and it's cool stuff. But I don't think, it's one of those boxes where it's like, you'd like the stuff, but I don't think you'd be psyched that you got it. And if you didn't get it, I don't think anyone would be super bummed that they missed it. So it's right in the middle. So for that reason, and the bullshit I had to deal with, I'm going to give this a 5.5 out of 10. Right in that middle range, but just above that, because it's still good, but yeah, I don't think anyone would be super bummed if they missed it. And I better not get any more shit from you, Funko. So yeah, there's that, and I don't like that either. Screw you. So yeah, so that's where it is for the box. 5.5 out of 10. But let me know what you guys think. What did you think about the box? What did you feel about the items? Are you excited for this company, or is this one kind of just tapering off and blowing away in the wind? I don't see too much cool stuff coming up. I'm sure they'll do an epic box for the Justice League movie, but other than that, I'm just not that excited for this box anymore. It just kind of is in one of those in-between phases where they're kind of running out of ideas, and the stuff is just kind of okay, and you know, whatever. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought about it, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Love you so much. Peace.